Okay, so welcome to another episode of Into the Cellar, the show with you in mind. I am stoked today, guys, because this is a big episode for me. We're going to geek out a little bit, but stay with me. We've got Brian Hosmer, who is the winemaker here at Hawthorne, and Brian's been here since 2010, you said, Brian? And so tell us a little bit about how you got here and your path, and I know you were overseas in Europe for a while, so yeah.
So I was teaching in Europe essentially, and then kind of ran into wine there, but when I came back I was at Michigan State University and I got into the research vineyard and winery there, was working there, and so from there I moved up here to Traverse City, and I was working at another winery, but I also work at Chateau Chantal. And one of the investors at Chateau Chantal used to own the vineyard that is now Hawthorne's Vineyards.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
so then it was sold to the Hawthornes, and the Hawthornes now own it. And then in 2010 they came to us and wanted to develop a winery here, and so we've been helping them work on that project and continue to be the winemaker here as well.
You came over and basically you started everything here. So tell us a little bit about what that was like as a winemaker. Like, you got an open canvas then?
In a sense, still working with the owners and what they would like to see, but another part of that is having had experience with this vineyard in a longer term sense. I already knew what was here and how some of the vineyards operated, and then we made a bunch of new plantings and did a bunch of Pinot Noir we put in, which was an interest of the owners, and we also did more Chardonnay because that was another focus that they wanted to work with. And so working with them, what they wanted was a big part of it, but then coming out and seeing what the vineyards actually did kind of helped drive along the style of the place. It's not something I did on my own. This is just one of the people that helped put this together.
Sure.
Our vineyard crew, and we also have a whole management team that kind of works on these types of things.
Right, sure. And I noticed some of the varietals are similar to what we have in the Finger Lakes, like Lemberger, Cab Franc, and
Yep.
I see you have some Pinot Blanc. Were you instrumental in, like you said there's a team, so basically you corroborated on where to plant. Did you have experience with these types of varietals?
Yeah, we've made a lot of these varieties for a long time.
Okay.
We have another almost 100 acres that we work with elsewhere on the peninsula, and so we have a lot of experience. And then also, what's not here, we can find sources for elsewhere with either our own farms or contracts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's really nice here. It's so the setting for Hawthorne is kind of up here on this hill, and I can see both bodies of water out here. And so,
West Bay over there and East Bay over there.
right. And so we're in Old Mission, whereas when we did Black Star, we were on the Leelanau Peninsula. And again, these are two AVAs that are right in the Traverse Bay area. Beautiful, picturesque. So like I said, we're up on top here. Tasting room, they've got a nice patio here. So it's a really nice place to come and visit and taste. And let's get into some wines here. And what did you pick out for us here, Brian?
So the first one we should probably start with would be we have an Auxerrois. So this is 2017 barrel Auxerrois.
So tell us about the Auxerrois. This is not a variety that I'm used to.
It's kind of more coming from Alsace. So it's an earlier variety that will often be interplanted and blended with Pinot Blanc. So it's often you'll find it as Pinot Auxerrois, or basically it's the counterpoint to Pinot Blanc, in that Pinot Blanc tends to be a little bit lower sugar, higher acid.
Gotcha.
This tends to be a bit lower acid, higher sugar. So when you put them together, you get a little more body rounding out from this variety. Whereas Pinot Blanc tends to be a little more acid driven, a little more stimulating kind of wine.
Right.
And so with this one, what we do is we take this and we put it in multiple fermentations in different barrels. And so a bunch of old neutral oak barrels that we put this in. And the idea being that we leave it in there just long enough to where our autolysis starts, and it starts to get a little sweetness, and then we pull it. So it's got a very delicate nose, but I don't want it to be overwhelmed by the measiness or the oak characteristics.
Gotcha.
It has a little bit of texture to it. It's kind of more like a pear, kind of almost peach kind of aromas, but it is a little little more developed because of the aeration in the barrels and the batonnage that we do.
Batonnage. Yeah, a full mouthfeel. Really rich in body. I got again, really good texture to this wine.
Yeah, this is a single vineyard wine from one of our neighbors, which is the Regan Vineyard. One of our cellars was here. Patrick I talked to him planting this vineyard many years ago, and so we had Hawthorne, which was the first place where we did this and had a release of it. So it's not a very common variety in the United States. There's a handful of other varietal wines, a couple here in Michigan, a couple out in Oregon, pretty much. And then and when we first did it, so one of the first 5 maybe that had a commercial release of it, but then there's a little more growing out there, but it's a pretty delicate variety. So if there's any heat, really warm places, it kind of is a little bit tricky to make.
Gotcha. Yeah. Right. I do like the balance of this wine too. It's got a little, so it says peach, pineapple, apricot. I get the apricot a lot. I get almost like, and it's not exactly like Viognier, but I do get a little teeny hint of the Viognier quality to this.
It's like the oiliness kind of everything.
Yeah, waxy, oily, yes.
It doesn't have the aromas, like the floral,
no,
but it has that richness because of its ripeness. And so,
that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
Great.
So you get pretty ripe skins on it, and then also the acids drop right. There's almost never malic acid when this comes in, but when there is, we will run an ML on it that is a specific strain that doesn't really metabolize malic acid, so it doesn't get I don't want the butteriness, and another thing to cover up this.
Right.
It just gives it a little bit of that little texture to it.
Nice job on this. Thank you. Nice job. So what's the next one, Ryan? What do you got for us?
So we have the Barrel Reserve Chardonnay. So when Bruce Hawthorne and Kathy originally wanted to start this project, they came to me with wanting to do a barrel style Chardonnay. And so we have been working on this, and that we wanted it to be a little, this vineyard here is very interesting in that there's a couple different blocks of different ages, and so we kind of work with some of the older blocks sometimes, but the newer blocks with the nicer clones tend to be a lot more fruity, but it takes a little bit longer in the barrel to get to the point where we want this to be. So we're using about 25% new oak in there, but then it's staying in the barrel for about 18 months, and it's usually about 18 months exactly for this vineyard every time it turns into this more of the almond side of the characteristic without getting oxidative. And so that's kind of one of the goals for framing up this wine is the length of time in the barrel. So there is an oak component, there's a good amount of fruit, and again, the malic acid levels in the warm years tend to be a little bit lower, so it's not really driven by that buttery component either. So it is
That's nice, and I really get a nice creaminess to it.
Yes.
Great little walkthrough that we have in the background, but we're still going to go creaminess. Yes,
Yeah,
right,
so
a little bit of creaminess.
This is
very
another
pleasant creaminess.
This is another one that we batonnage on a monthly basis. So what we're doing is we're stirring the barrels once a month to resuspend the yeast cells, and over time the alcohol breaks them down and we can release their flavors, which you get that sweetness from the polysaccharides that come out of the cells, and then you get a little this toasty breadiness.
That's how it comes out. Yeah. And I told you we were going to get geeky, and I just love it. I'm in my little element. Take us back a little bit to the beginning. What was that like? What was that process like? So you probably planted 2 or 3 years out. So were you here for the planting? And kind of take us back to kind of some of what your recollections are of that time.
So when we were planting, we started planting. We've done it in stages in a sense. So the majority of the vineyard was planted before I moved up here, and so because it was, I think the original plantings were in like the late 90s, like 97, 98, something like that. So there's a bunch of fun things like Gamay out there, and Riesling, some Chardonnay. The Lemberger was originally planted back then. Then the Pinot Blanc was planted in the early 2000s, like that, 2002, 2003, 2004, something like that. And then we had all that stuff operating, functioning, and it was on the east side primarily, on the north end of the property, and then down here on the south end, kind of where the tasting room has become. And we did, then when Bruce bought it, he looked at planting more things, and we planted this whole hill down here,
Right, yeah.
which started, at that point, the top was Pinot Noir, and then we have Gamay and Pinot Grigio down there, right below. And then recently, in the last, 3 years ago, we planted on the top, we planted Cabernet Franc and some more Pinot Meunier for Methode Champenois or some Rosé, depending on the year.
Okay.
And then we have also Lemberger, because the original Lemberger planting was only a few rows, and we were only able to get like a very small crop, maybe 1 to 3 barrels a year, depending on the crop in there.
Yeah, I did see on the map where there was a Lemberger planting in 1 year, and then there was a little while longer, there was a different Lemberger planting.
Yeah, so that's actually the vineyard actually behind us, you can see it from there.
Mhm.
That's the Lemberger, so it's, we call it Lemberger, also known as Blanc Franquiche.
Blanc Franquiche,
Yeah. So we,
and those are very familiar varietals to us in the
Yeah.
Finger Lakes, so.
So
yeah.
one of the elements that the Hawthorne is very interested in the wines is they like a good structural component and a lot of good, nice new oak in some of the wines. So you see that in the Chardonnay and some of the other wines. And Lemberger's another one that has had a fair amount of new oak in it.
Yeah, this Chardonnay is wonderful, and it's not too over oaky. I mean, I really get a blend of fruit, oak, a little bit of acid, but it's just, really nice balance.
Yeah, why this ends up being an interesting transitional wine in this conversation is that one of the hallmarks of Northwest Michigan is we often, because of our sandy soils, we get very, very bright aromatics, so very pretty wines at the expense sometimes of body. And so on this property, we have spots of the sand where we get these bright aromatics in Chardonnays, these pineapple notes in the wine, and then we have this other blocks that are over on this side that are on this clay section where the body comes into play. You get more fullness to the palate. And so this helps in the transition, because in the next wine taste, you get to see that on display.
Outstanding.
Yep. So the next one is the Bruce's Blend Pinot Noir. We only make this in really good vintages. And so one of the things here in Northwest Michigan that we have is a significant amount of vintage variation. So there are years where we have cooler years where we're dealing with fruit in the sense like we're in Canada, northeastern Canada.
Sure.
Then we have years where our growing degree days reach into what you might see in Napa. And so we have these big swings in vintage variation.
Gotcha.
And so 2015, this Bruce's Blend came from an interesting year where we had lost a good amount of fruit because of cold damage, but then the year ended up being very warm. And so we had a little bit of fruit on the vines, and they ripened a lot. We've only made Bruce's Blend twice now, and so we made it in 2012, which is one of the warmest years on record, and 2015, which ended up being really nice and a low crop mode. So this is one we made as a kind of a surprise for Bruce the first time, in that he really likes these structural elements, and so this ends up being about 50% new oak. But because of it's being on the clay section, it has the body and the fruit characteristics to stand up to that kind of impact.
Right. And I'm going to say this. I get the burgundy on the nose. A little bit of that Brettanomyces, a little bit of that pleasantness that I love.
There's a earthy element, but I don't get much of the Brett flavor. It's something I'm very focused in on, is beads that I've seen before. But,
No, and I was very subtle, but and maybe I'm misspeaking, but I'm the burgundy and the earth.
Yes,
that's what I'm really focusing on.
Oh yeah, for sure. So in this vineyard, the first crop came in from this. I think it was planted in 2008. The first little tiny crop we had was in 2010. And when the fruit first came into the cellar, it did not look like any Pinot Noir I'd ever seen from Northwest Michigan. The berries were much smaller than normal, and the clusters were even smaller than usual, which for a small cluster variety like Pinot Noir.
Right.
And I was wondering if they planted the wrong thing, because then when we put it in the fermenter, it was so dark and reductive, and the color was so intense it didn't seem typical for Pinot Noir either.
Right.
And so we normally, when you have a Pinot Noir from this area, about 6 to 8 months in, it starts to smell like Pinot Noir in the barrel, and you're at that point you're waiting for a decided endpoint. This one took almost a year to start smelling like Pinot Noir, and so this one takes, again, this is another almost 2 year in the barrel kind of wine. before it even starts to develop.
To me, the difference in this wine is in the finish. This has a nice lingering finish. I mean, as you were talking, and I was still tasting it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really nice, thorough finish
Yeah.
that I really enjoy.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we're looking for, this, the phenolics and the ripeness, and that's one of the things I get from a lot of Burgundies, you know, in addition to like the softness from those wines, but the finesse and finish that kind of lingers in the back of your throat.
Very significant, very nice. So let's talk about pairings. Real quick, the Auxerrois. What would you...
The Auxerrois is it's another kind of, all these tend to be food wine because of where we're at, in the sense that we tend to have the acids that causes you to salivate. Auxerrois is a little bit lower acidity, but you have that creaminess.
Yep.
So there's a lot of the sharper cheeses that can go with this, where it counterbalances it.
Yes.
And then you have just your general chicken and pork kind of generic statements, but
right.
you know, also it's kind of a nice one you can have with tarts and things like that.
Sure. Yeah, true. And you can have some more bolder flavors with a wine like this, because this wine will stand up to those bolder flavors. On the Chardonnay side, I mean, obviously you're looking at brie for cheese, probably. And
your typical barrel Chardonnays, but one of the barrel Chardonnay pairings, one of the ones that we have found that we really like is deviled eggs with little crumbs of bacon on top, because the smokiness from the bacon and then like the richness of the deviled egg and the oak that cuts through that. It's one of those things.
You don't have any on site, do you? Because now I'm like jonesing for a deviled egg with little bacon crumbles. That's a great idea. So that's a huge tip. And then the Pinot Noir, pork, salmon.
Yep, all of your standard Pinot Noir kind of there. This one being a little bit bigger Pinot Noir.
Yes.
We make two other Pinot Noirs here that aren't structured in the same way, that are more, you know, fruitier kind of wines.
Sure.
But this one you're going to want a little more drill on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'll stand up. This is the Bruce's Blend, 2015. Perfect. All right, great. All right, to close it out, Brian, we have a little bit of a 5-question questionnaire. It's pretty rapid fire. What is your favorite wine term?
As far as what I use,
This sounds good.
Yeah, there's Batonage or Saugny or
Saugny. Talk about Saugny.
That's what we're going to talk about. It's to bleed off. So when we're making a rosé, what we'll do is we'll take the fruit and we'll drain off a portion so that it's a little bit pink after like 1 or 2 days, rather than a full skin contact fermentation like a red.
Yeah.
So when we do the rosé here at Hawthorne in particular, we want the fruit a little bit riper because I want the rosé to be a little more structured. And so what we'll do is we'll take that and segregate that little section.
Yeah.
And we call that Saugny.
Yeah. So that's the method of doing rosé, and I believe it's spelled Saigene. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to know all this stuff. And now, if you want to be a homer, you can absolutely be a homer on these next couple of questions. But the question is, favorite wine region to drink from?
Oh boy, this is.
Gotta answer it. Huh?
Yeah.
You gotta do it.
It's drink from. I mean, outside is that because of my proximity and relationship with the area we're in. When it's kind of like I have to change gears when I go home. So one of the things I'll do is like Chateauneuf de Pape is one of those ones that, in a sense, where it's a complete shift of gears. It's a whole different kind of wine. It's not something. It almost allows me to, because a lot of times when you're drinking wines professionally, you can't really punch out in a sense.
Sure.
You're caught thinking about it working, and how do they do that? Can I do this, or this? And with that, I know I can't do that.
Yeah.
And so it allows me that space of just, and there's so many varieties in the blends.
Yeah, right.
The variation is there as well.
So
Southern France, particularly.
Yep. Your favorite wine region that you've visited?
Yeah, kind of falls in the same
Same thing. And they have the galets, right?
Yeah.
The stones, so they obviously to make it, again, as we've said, you want wines, vines to stress a little bit,
Yeah.
and they also they hold in the heat really
Yeah,
nicely.
they radiate the heat. You get really, really ripe wines that are made with maybe a little more restraint than what you might find on the West Coast here, and so but I do like all these wines for different times kind of.
Oh, sure,
Right?
of course.
Visiting,
Of course.
going to California, visiting those regions and Oregon, or just going Burgundy and tasting just vineyards side by side, really focusing in on Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. It's all
great.
good stuff. Or just going to Italy and finding 20 new varieties you've never heard of.
Especially, yeah, of course. Region that you would most like to visit that you haven't?
I haven't. I guess it would probably have to be like Australia.
Australia?
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, this is a deep one. Last question. What do you want your wine legacy to be?
The legacy, well, I think it's more of one of an increasing understanding for our area in the sense that coming from the school I went to and our research kind of focus of being where I started and coming out. And like you said, we're collaborative winemakers in this region, and so we do get together, we do taste each other's wines. You do find places where people are very secretive and they find what they do well and they try to hold that and keep it from everybody else. I don't have that inclination in myself. I don't see that. So as far as that goes, we're still in this region almost in a pioneering kind of phase. We're only like the second generation in. So those people there that kind of get the beginning work, kind of set us up for this. Now we're at the position now that we're starting to figure out the vineyards and what varieties. We can now start tailoring the enology and working on that direction, which is where my interest comes in. And so we'll share that moving forward with our colleagues, even though we're competitors.
Yeah, right. Well, Brian, I'll tell you, man, I really appreciate this. This is wonderful. Cheers. Great wines. Check this place out, guys. Great view, great tasting room, plenty of varietals. I saw a lot of reserve stuff out there, so they, are very selective with the different blocks and how things are coming out. And great story here too. So, cheers, everyone. That's a wrap.